Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews. I am your host, John Delray. Today's topic is all about 5 Packers with a little something to prove throughout the 2022 season. This can be either to the Packers, to the fans, to themselves. These are guys that have got something to prove for all different reasons. Before we dive into today's topic, please hit like, share, subscribe, either on the audio podcast that you're listening to or the video stream on YouTube. Hit all the buttons except for block. Don't hit that one. That one's bad for me. So hit the buttons and let's continue to build a Packer community together. One reminder, we do have a giveaway going on for Thursday's mailbag. All you got to do, entrance is really simple. Follow me on Twitter. My handle is @JohnDelray. That's JONDELRAY. Follow me on Twitter. Like and retweet one of the tweets that's out there about the giveaway. I'll be putting out another one tonight as well. And then DM me a question that you'd like to see answered in Thursday's mailbag. If your question is picked, you then are eligible to get the giveaway. What is that giveaway again? Well, the giveaway is 3 cards. I didn't take them out of the top loaders again just to keep them safe, but we got a Leroy Butler autograph, James Lofton autograph, and then an A.J. Dillon select rookie with that nice little napkin swatch that's in there of his jersey. And then we also have an 8x10 signed by NFL Hall of Famer, Green Bay Packer Hall of Famer, absolute Lombardi legend, Willie Davis. So sorry for the glare there if you're watching on YouTube, but there is the photo that comes with Waukesha Sports Cards COA as well. So this is the giveaway. One person is going to be given all of this stuff as a thanks for submitting to the mailbag and as a thank you for just listening, being a part of the community. So again, follow me on Twitter, like and retweet one of the tweets that's out there about the giveaway. DM me a question. Question is picked, you're eligible to win. That's all there is to it. Do those things by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Lambeau time. Because then Thursday morning I'll be going through the questions and answering them all on Thursday's episode of the Lombardi Time Brews. So make sure you check it out. All right, diving into today's topic, we have 5 Packers with a little something to prove. Number 1, Aaron Jones. That's right, Showtime himself, the running back, one of the 1A running backs, as Matt LaFleur calls them, for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones, this has absolutely nothing to do with the person he is, with the player he is. We know he is one of the last remaining weapons on this offense, one of the last playmakers. We know that he's been there for years and has performed at a very high level for years. But the problem is that contract. You know, his 2022 cap number for the season that we're entering, that number is $5.9 million. Quite reasonable for a playmaker at the level of Aaron Jones. However, they have restructured that contract a couple of times now, and his cap number for 2023 jumps all the way to $20 million, the highest cap number for a running back in the NFL. If they were to release him after this season going into next year, they would get $10.5 million in cap space and only have to carry $9.5 million in dead money, which for a team that could be entering some of the cap predicaments that the Packers are, it might be tempting to get $10 million, especially if they're of the belief that Kylan Hill or Tyler Goodson can step in and do a lot of the things that Aaron Jones does. Or, I don't see this happening philosophically, but it's a possibility we have to acknowledge, A.J. Dillon could just become more of a workhorse back too, like he was in college. So, the question has to be raised, and what Aaron Jones can do is he can go out there and absolutely ball out this year and make it an impossible decision for them. I mean, it's already going to be incredibly difficult, but if he goes up and tears it up like we know he can do, make the Pro Bowl, even make an All-Pro team, which is going to be very difficult with A.J. Dillon splitting his time, but do those things and you could play yourself into that contract or potentially an extension. The idea of an extension has kind of been tossed around in different fan circles for Aaron Jones, but he's already turning 28 years old in a couple of months. Are you going to extend a 28-year-old running back? Or does Aaron Jones just purposefully take pay cuts to reduce his number? But if you're thinking along those lines, because Aaron Jones does seem like the type that may do that. We know he loves Green Bay. We know that he's very loyal to Green Bay. He said as much. But the cap number is not reflective of what he's getting paid because of the restructures that have been done in the past. So ultimately, there's not really a lot of room for him just to take less. So this is one guy who, as well as he plays, may make the decisions for the Packers tougher. Extension, release, continued restructure. One other tidbit about his contract is there's 2 years remaining on the contract itself, and then they did already add 2 void years to it to help spread out the cap hit. So again, with that cap hit coming of $20 million next year, and a potential savings of 10.5 if they move on, it's going to be up to Aaron Jones' play to see what happens here. If he plays well enough, that contract can remain intact, maybe. If not, and I love Aaron Jones. I'm a huge Aaron Jones fan. And this is typically one of the things that we don't worry about until we need to worry about it. But it's something to know heading into the season that this could be the last year of Aaron Jones in a Packer uniform. Number 2, David Bakhtiari. David Bakhtiari, again, this is not about the play on the field when he's on the field. But we know David Bakhtiari. We know the story with the ACL injury. We know how far back this goes, how much time he's missed. This has been well reported, well within the minds of Packer fans as terror has grown. But happy news, just this morning, head coach Matt LaFleur said that David Bakhtiari would be participating in team drills for the first time since coming off the PUP. That's a huge development, potentially getting him in line to play this weekend, week 1 in Minnesota. So, David Bakhtiari may be coming back, but the thing that he needs to prove, I think even a little to himself, given the way that he's talked in interviews, is he has to go out there for 17 games and trust that knee. I mean, realistically, hopefully 21, 22 games. But he has to go out there and prove that to himself, to the team. Not that he answers to us, but boy, fans want to see it too. And the thing is too, I mean, I've seen all of the absolute bullcrap takes about, well, he's too busy drinking beer at the Bucks games to rehab. Yeah, he's too busy sitting on all that money that we gave him just before he got hurt. Shut up. Of course David Bakhtiari wants to be on the field. No one wants him on the field worse than him. Shut up. But we'd be remiss if we didn't agree that there were some concerns about the long-term health of the knee. Is it going to stand up to the grind of 17 games now? Is he going to be the same all-pro left tackle that we saw before this really severe knee injury took place? It's not a question of character and will and work. It's a question of the human body, and even some of the best doctors in the world can't answer that one. So, number 3 on the list, Mason Crosby. The 38-year-old Silver Fox kicker himself. Just a few stats for you. In 2019, Crosby went 22 of 24 on field goals. 2020, a perfect 16 of 16. Now, that was a really low field goal attempt year because ultimately the Packers' offense was scoring touchdowns and they just didn't need a lot of field goals. He was 16 of 16, though. 2021, 25 of 34. For a rate of 73.5%, one of the lowest make percentages of his career. Now, the Packers at the end of the season had a choice. They could either move on to Molson, the guy who had been on their practice squad all year, the guy that they potentially were kind of grooming to be Mason's replacement. We know now he was probably more of a break glass in case of scenario, considering that they moved on from Molson this offseason. But there was the question of, do they move on from Mason and save the money? Think about $4 million. Does Mason retire, which looked like a real possibility there at the end of the season? Or do they blame it on something else? And what we have found out is that the Packers are very much blaming it on something else. They are not taking all of the fault of these missed field goals and placing it on the kicker Mason Crosby. Seems that a fair amount of blame has been placed on Corey Bojorquez, the former punter. Certainly the long snapper, Steve Wordle, Hunter Bradley. They're looking at the entire special teams unit and saying it's more so their fault than it is Mason's. Not that Mason is absolved of all fault. There's certainly some things for him to do differently, but still, between the operation, as they call it, of the long snap and then hold, that there were more issues there than there were with Mason Crosby. And the data shows it. I mean, he was a very, very reliable kicker up until last season. And then last season, you had the long snapper change with Wordle. You had Bojorquez coming in as the holder. A lot of things did change around Mason as part of the operation. And so they're saying he's still got the leg. He could still make kicks. It's everyone else who screwed it up. So we're going to get new pieces there. Enter Jack Coco. Enter Pat O'Donnell. And part of the reason that O'Donnell was signed was because he's a very good holder. But now it's all up to Mason. I mean, they revamped the operation. They got new people in there. If kicking continues to go awry, there's only so many more places that they can look. And it's their 38-year-old kicker, Mason Crosby. So certainly hoping that he returns to form, obviously. But he is someone with something to prove. He has to prove this year that those issues that were last year had to be pinned on them, and that was the correct assessment. He's got to go out there and kick like the Mason Crosby that we knew in 2019 and the 100% make rate of 2020. Packers think he's still got the leg, think he's still got the accuracy. It's up to Mason to show it. Packer number 4, a new one, Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, again, this is predominantly health-related, but he was a hugely touted prospect coming out of the draft. In his rookie season of 2014 for the Buffalo Bills, he played and started in all 16 games. Problem is, it's been the only time in his career that he has played and started in all 16 games. His injury issues over the past few years have been widely reported. This is not some kind of secret. It's not something that is being held from people. I mean, like, we know the guy's had problems. But at the same time, his injury problems are not the type that he's only played in 2 games here, 3 games here, even 5 games. Here's the list of games in his career that he's played each year. 2014, 16. 2015, 13. 2016, 8. 2017, 15. 2018, 10, 2019, 14, 2020, 10, 2021, 13. So here you have a guy that has this huge reputation of injury, but yet it's not like he's only playing 5 games a year. The vast majority of his career he's played in double-digit games. He's missed enough games to derail statistics, to derail seasons, but not enough to where he's playing 5 games a year. Guy's hitting double digits every year. He has something to prove. And he said it himself at his locker. He knows this year is on him. He knows that playing with Aaron Rodgers this year could be his last shot. He already spent some time with Patrick Mahomes. And in those years, one of them he put up pretty good stats. And the other one he went back to mediocreness. And then last year, he switched to Baltimore, signed as a free agent of Baltimore, where they are so run-heavy. And he posted the lowest receiving yardage total of his career. And had a whopping 1 touchdown. Also the lowest of his career. Do the grades show that, though? If we were to look at Pro Football Focus, do the grades show that Sammy's last year was not great? Yeah, it was the second lowest PFF grade of his career, coming in at a whopping 66.3. But yet, looking at the film in Baltimore, looking at his work in KC, you still see the traits that showed why he was such a highly touted prospect all the way back in 2014. He also blocks the run really well. I mean, why the Packers signed him is not a mystery at all. But now it's time for him to prove that, 1, his body can withhold the rigors of a season, And he can be a contributor on a top-tier offense. He contributed in KC, but never ascended to the level of recapturing stardom that he had when he was this highly touted draft pick. And Baltimore last year, if you're a wide receiver looking to reclaim any like star-level claim to fame, Baltimore's not where you go. We know it, and he didn't even play that well. So it's all on Sammy this year. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to play. He has a lot to prove. But if he does prove it, it can reshape the narrative of his career and extend his career. Even Sammy's acknowledged that if this year he doesn't do a whole lot, well, this may be the end of the road. Player number 5 is something to prove, Darnell Savage. The fourth-year safety for Green Bay. Talk about an inconsistent career. Green Bay already picked up his fifth-year option. His salary next year is set in at $7.9 million. And they are banking on him being the playmaker and the guy who makes the splash plays that we've seen throughout the course of his career. But year 1 in his career, he launched a 67.1 grade on PFF. That was for his rookie year. Year 2, he ascended to 75.3, showing more of those splash plays, being the playmaker that we expect Darnell Savage to be. And then last year, they switched coordinators to Joe Barry, and he fell pretty hard. PFF grade of only 58.5. His worst coverage stats of his career. So which Darnell Savage are we going to get this year? The guy that's on the cusp of making Pro Bowls if he just hangs on to a couple more interceptions? Or the guy who's lost in coverage? Because the traits are still there. And he's already got that fifth-year contract secured because the Packers picked up the option. The Packers believe in him. Coaches still speak glowingly of him. But he's got to prove it. He's got to prove that he can play in Joe Barry's defense because last year did not prove that. But it's time for Darnell Savage to ascend. I really think that this could be a make or break year for Darnell. Meaning, does he ascend to being a Pro Bowl level safety? Especially paired with Mr. Reliable, Adrian Amos? And the three corners that they have. I mean, if you're a playmaking free safety who needs room to kind of range around and be a rover and even play some star position, boy, does he have the surrounding cast around him to do it. But Darnell Savage needs to prove this year that he's not the weak link in amongst the five. Because last year showed that he was too often. Even when others are replacing Jair Alexander in the lineup, Darnell Savage was still the weak one too much. Still the one that could be picked on. So, which version of Darnell Savage are we going to get this year? He has to prove it. That he can be that guy that not only is worthy of the fifth-year extension that they picked up, which I think he is, but now he's got to show it. Show why he even deserves an extension to stay in Green Bay. Or maybe this Joe Barry thing isn't working out for him like it is many others, and he needs to be used differently. Only time will tell, but it's up to Darnell Savage to show it. So, there you have it. 5 Packers with something to prove this year, be it to themselves, to the team. 5 players with something to prove. Don't forget our giveaway. Follow me on Twitter at John Delray, JONDELRAY. I hope you are having a very enjoyable Labor Day so far. If you don't see this until tomorrow, I hope you're having a happy Tuesday. Either way, have yourself a great day. Thanks for stopping by Lombardi Time Brews. Have a good one.